I'm just gonna share this and everything. So if it is live at the moment. Just getting this all set up. Livid. Give it a couple of seconds. Whoever's in here. Just sharing it. That's very annoying, isn't it? Very annoying. Give a couple more minutes, see if anyone else joins. Get this going in just a second. Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. The first half, I'll talk about it more in a minute, but well annoying. Morning, Paulie. Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Let's get this pod recording. Right. Well, that's it. We've tasted our first defeat under Ange Postecoglou, and it's come at the hands of Mauricio Pochettino. His Chelsea sides have, inflicted a 4-1 defeat upon us. It's weird. Doesn't feel like a 4-1 defeat. It feels like from that second half, there's a lot of positives to take. So I don't really want to hammer the team too much. I think they played like heroes, to be honest, in that second half. The high line, I mean, we'll get into this a bit. I kind of question that a bit, given that we had 9 men, but that's the way Ange Postecoglou plays things. It's just annoying, isn't it? It's annoying that it has to be Chelsea. Chelsea in such bad form. I didn't want to listen to it. I didn't want to hear people saying you're not proper Spurs unless you think this was going to happen. But it's annoying. It is annoying. And it is, look, it's the old football cliche, isn't it? Game of two halves. First half, ridiculous. The most freakish game of football I've ever seen. Half of it self-inflicted, half of it just the footballing gods not being too kind to us. Second half played like absolute heroes. I mean, look, we'll dive into the first half. Like Destiny Udogie decided to dive into Raheem Sterling and really set the tone of it. I mean, the way it felt like we just totally got rattled by a Pochettino side playing like a Pochettino side. And I'm so shocked and I'm so disappointed in that first half, at least, that somebody like Dyer or somebody like Sonny didn't prep a lot of these younger lads to be ready for this, because Chelsea absolutely shithoused us in that first half. It was peak Poch ball. It was peak Pochettino ball. They completely shithoused us. They were kicking us all over the park, and it got into our heads. We got completely rattled. Destiny Udogi's young. He's learning. He's had an impeccable season to this point. He was very lucky to get away with a red, I think, personally, from the start. That was a warning for him. He didn't heed that, did he? I mean, it was rash, his second yellow again, but 2 rash challenges. Christian Romero is, I mean, it's very, very disappointing. It's very disappointing to see Christian Romero get made vice captain, as he has done this season, seemingly mature with that role, seemingly iron out this kind of petulance from his game. But he completely bought it today. I don't know if Pochettino knew. Pochettino, a very, very similar defender. To anybody that doesn't remember Pochettino as a player, very similar. I think at Espanyol, they used to call him the General or something like that. There's a compilation of Pochettino as a player at Espanyol, and it would be like watching Christian Romero. Complete shithouse, complete rash challenges everywhere, roughhousing. And I wonder if Pochettino just knew he could rattle somebody like Romero. If anyone's ever watched The Sopranos, I don't know if you ever remember, and this is what it made me think of, right? There's an episode in Sopranos when Tony Soprano's like hot-headed sister Janice. The Soprano family are all very hot-headed, right? And Janice goes to anger management, And she starts trying to get a bit holier than now with Tony, telling him how good anger management will be for him and all this type of stuff, right? And Tony Soprano in his head just knows. He knows I can rattle her though. I know the real Janice is in there. And it comes like the culmination of the episode is he manages to wind her up at this big family meal at the end of it. And she explodes in this big temper tantrum. And Tony Soprano leaves and he's got this big sort of smile on his face because he knows he's gotten to them. Chelsea, for me, it felt that way with Christian Romero today. It felt like they knew, yes, we knew we could wind him up. We knew because he's been too like squeaky clean so far this season, and the beast is still in there somewhere. And he let himself down today. He's had a fantastic season, Christian Romero. Right, he has. You can't gun him too hard. However, the point that you can make against him is the fact that when the pressure is finally on us again, right? We've played very well to this point, and it's not been zero pressure, but we've been free from pressure. We've been this young, exciting side, new manager, everybody likes him. We've kind of been on a bit of a roll. We've reinvented ourselves, and now that people are starting to take notice of Spurs, this game against Chelsea, people are suddenly being like, right, this is going to be a good test for this Tottenham side now. Let's see what they're made of. For Romero to lose his head like he did today, and somebody sort of saying to me on Twitter, he didn't lose his head. It was one of those 50-50 challenges in the box where some days that's not a red card and some days it's not even a penalty. And I do agree with that. But I would have agreed with it more if it wasn't literally, 2 minutes earlier than that. He lashed out. Was it Colwell off the ball in that David Beckham style on Diego Simeone in the 98 World Cup style lashing out? And it would have been a harsh red card for that, but it's still petulant. It's still him getting rattled by Chelsea doing the dark arts, Chelsea doing the Pochettino style dark arts that we've seen ourselves and we've reveled in time after time after time. Somebody else tweeted at me saying it was like they were playing like a team of Lamellas. And that was it's perfect way of putting it. Perfect way of putting it. A team of Lamellas. And we absolutely bought it. We absolutely bought it. Pochettino, he nailed us in that respect. Like young, inexperienced team, player like Romero there who has been good so far, but has that in him. We can get to these lot. We can get to them. And going from a position where we were totally in control, where I was disappointed that obviously, you're disappointed that Spurs' second goal was offside, Jack. Yeah, well done. Yeah, I know. But still, the fact that the second goal, millimeters offside, but we felt good for that, right? We felt good for a 2-0 lead. And from that point, we're cruising. From that point, we go on and win 3-0 or something like that. 3-0, 4-0, 3-1, 4-1, whatever. We batter them from that point because we were totally dominant. We were passing the ball around nicely, controlling it nicely. And then Chelsea just flicked the dark art switch and we completely bought it. They dragged us down to their level. They completely dragged us down to their level. And look, we got to say, we benefited from that at times under Pochettino. We've seen how he does that. And we fell for it. We completely bought it. And like I say, I don't want to gun him too hard because I think it was a heroic effort that second half. But Sonny is our captain, who was one of Pochettino's main men. I'm just slightly disappointed that he maybe couldn't have gotten through to those players a bit more to expect that from a Pochettino team, to expect what was coming, because we just completely bought it. We completely bought it, completely lost our heads, and that will be a rude awakening for that team. But look, we have to flip not only to the second half, because the second half is obviously relevant to right now. But from the first half to this second half, from everything that's preceded this game, the way we've played, the spirit and everything like that, that doesn't disappear. And we saw that in the second half. I know we conceded 3 more goals, or 2 or 3, I can't remember, 2 or 3. What was it? 1 all at half-time? 1 all at half-time, yeah. Conceded 3 goals in the second half. It's unfortunate. The scoreline is ugly. Scoreline flatters Chelsea massively, and it's disappointing. The most disappointing thing out of the back of this, though, is the loss of Christian Romero for 3 games now because he couldn't keep his head. And Mickey van der Ven, it looked bad, didn't it? It looked like a bad one. The way he pulled up, there are some hammies where you're like, okay, that's maybe a bit of stiffness, and there's some where you're like, he's going to be out for months. And really, I mean, I'm not. Look, again, I'm not a physio. All right, I'm not an armchair physio. I'm not. I don't know much about elite fitness. All right, I said this last time, but from watching football, right? From watching football for many years, we've all watched football for many years, right? I'm sure the majority of us have anyway. We've seen those. We've seen the way certain players can pull up like that. It doesn't look good, does it? It doesn't look good. I mean, we got a comment here from Emily Sherwood. I don't know any relation, Emily, to the great Gilade one. But she says, "Why always Chelsea?" It's a fair point. It's a fair point. It does always seem to be them, doesn't it? Always seems to be them that these hideous type of results came. I mean, it's such a mad one. Lorenzo07 as well says think we have a lot of positives to take on this. Hang on. I think we have a lot of positives to take on this, more negatives, but still major positives in terms of how we kept going to the end. I agree with that, mate. I think the negatives belong in the first half, and it's some things outside of our control. It remains to be seen how long Maddison will be out for. Hopefully won't be long. Van der Ven, I think, as many sort of people are saying in the comments here, it feels like it's going to be a long one. I think it is going to be a long one. It's disappointing, but what we do have to take heart from is that fighting spirit that Ange Postecoglou has managed to work into this side so quickly, so early on into his tenure. We're still there. We're still there when we had 9 men in that second half. We were still fighting to our very best to the very end. And look, again, Eric Dyer, millimeters offside for having that kind of hero arc, for Eric Dyer to step in. And I mean, his finish was absolutely sublime. We sat there on 2-2. There's every chance we hold out. We hold out for that. It's one of those games that it's so painful, right? And I appreciate, right? I'm sat here at home. I've watched it in the comfort of my own home on my armchair, like with the central heating on. First time I put the central heating on actually today. That's an interesting one for this. I haven't been in the stadium, so I appreciate if people are fuming, coming back from the game, cold, angry, had Chelsea fans shouting their usual bile at them. I get it. You're going to be livid, and maybe the last thing you want to hear is me saying, "Wow, there's plenty of positives from that." I get it. I understand it. But what I'm just saying is that I think there are many, many positives from that. The big negatives, though, that we can't avoid, it's Van der Ven. That is the major one, right? Van der Ven being out is huge. Does Eric Dyer step into the team now? Does Ashley Phillips step into the team? It's hard to say, isn't it? It's hard to say. The high line earlier wasn't looking too smart. I don't really know if we can blame Eric Dyer for the high line in that one, but it wasn't looking too smart, was it? Either way, in that second half, down to as few players as we had. I don't know. It's just an annoying one. It's an annoying one, and that we had the chance to go 5 clear of Arsenal tonight. And that's not what it's about. It's about Tottenham doing as best as they can. There's a long season ahead of us, right? Very long season ahead of us still. We were going to lose at some point. We weren't going to be the Tottenham Invincibles. And I know some people will say that's defeatist mentality, and maybe it is. But the chances of us being the Tottenham Invincibles were very minimal. We were going to lose a game at some point. It is annoying that it's come to Chelsea. It is annoying that it's come to Maurizio Pochettino. But that's life. That's how it is, right? it's just annoying, isn't it? Titled the last podcast, everything's going our way with Jamie, and it did feel like everything was going away, and it felt like today everything went against us, including ourselves. It felt like we played against ourselves today. And it's hard. It's such a, I don't know about you. I don't know if how anyone else is feeling. Please tell me in the comments. I am streaming this live for anybody that listens to this, the podcast version. I do stream these live now on YouTube straight after. How are you feeling though? Because I don't, we've lost 4-1 to Chelsea. It's our first loss of the season. But I don't feel as angry as I normally would after a Chelsea loss. I was livid at halftime. I was livid with how we played, but the way that the majority of the team played, the lads played in that second half, there was enough there to be positive about. And I'm gutted about Van der Ven. I keep almost sort of forgetting that. It's almost like self-preservation. I'm pushing that to the back of my head, right? But, you know, how does everyone feel? I mean, a lot of people here saying Brennan Johnson, very promising. I agree. I really like him. I'll do all the players individually, like in a bit after we, as I normally do. But I just think Spurs have done very, very well there. I think Spurs, I don't know. I can't say they've done very, very well. I can't say they've done very, very well in a game we've lost 4-1, right? Liverpool played with 9 men against us at White Hart Lane and narrowly lost 2-1. They played very, very well. We played well. We showed a lot of spirit. We showed a lot of heart. But ultimately, Chelsea still cut through us, didn't they? And scored 4 goals. So I can't say we played very, very well. I can't do that, especially after that first half as well. Spurs Simpsons, good lad. Give him a follow on Twitter as well, if you are on Twitter, or X, as weirdos call it. It doesn't feel like a 4-1 loss. Maybe it's denial, but the fact we kept going and almost got it to 2-2. Yeah, I mean, I agree, mate. I agree. It's brilliant. Tony Stark says, I'm going to start an anti-Jack agenda if Romero doesn't get a negative score. Look, I gave him plenty of negative scores last year. He's just been fantastic this season, right? He's been fantastic so far this year. And I think I've like praised him accordingly. Wyatt West says, only anger is because it's Chelsea and the worry because of the injuries - bans. Agree very much there. So much to work off of here, though, and think Ange can rally the lads around this. I agree, Wyatt. I agree. And I think that's a really good point. Dwayne says, any mentality left from the previous era is likely completely shed away tonight. I'm going to take that as a positive, Dwayne. I'm not 100% what you're saying there. But I think you're saying that like we're not the Spurs that we were previously, where we might absolutely collapse in those situations. And I think we've done pretty well. So I'm going to agree with you there. Shittown, I'm going to guess Shi for Chicago. So I'm not going to say Chi-Town, Shittown Spurs. If it does sound a bit like you're saying shit, doesn't it? Maybe that's the point. Took 9 men and a load of nonsense to lose. We're going to be fine. Agree, mate. Agree. And almost equalised twice. Yep, agree. Chi-Town. There we go. Darren says Chi-Town. That's it. Chi-Town Spurs. But you don't say Chicago, do you? Maybe you do. Do you say Chicago if you're from Chicago? Is that me? Is this one of those tomatoes thing? I don't know. It's all nonsense, isn't it? Oh, you say things a bit differently. Who cares? We all speak on the internet all day, every day now, isn't it? Like this. No, I'm not going to do some big rallying cry against like nationalism. It's football. Keep it to football. Keep politics out of football. Right? None of that. None of that nonsense. Look. If you've come here to see the Spurs, if you are a rival fan here, you come to see me do that. I've had enough, Ange Postecoglou. I've had enough. I don't want to. It's not going to happen. Like it's just come on. I know some people will be profiteering for that. I don't think even Spurs have one of those, do we? I don't think we do. I don't think we have that was a disgrace. This is good. I'll tell you what. This is going to be my thumbnail now. For anyone watching this, I'm going to change the thumbnail to afterwards. All right. The Christian Romero, get him out of the club. But look, Noah Chapman. Jackson scored the worst hat trick ever seen in the Premiership, in the Premiership, show my age there. And doing the Ronaldo celebration is outrageous. Yeah, I mean, bizarre, isn't he? Bizarre. Um, I agree. Expressions does it tongue in cheek as well, and he is funny. I liked Expressions was the guy, wasn't he, that came along at first, and I think it triggered everybody because everyone was like, "No, we don't want like a wobble-headed Spurs fan that's going to shout." And then we're all like, "Actually, he's really smart. He's really funny. He's really clever. Like, you got to give him his dues, haven't you?" I don't know. I don't know. I'm being told Pochettino's about to speak, but I don't care. Don't care. Get him in the bin. Look, you don't need to listen to Pochettino speak because you already listened to this chubby Argy speaking. So, it's all good. It's all good. Should we do the play? Look, this is going around in circles, isn't it? We've gone through the full range of emotions here. It was annoying the first half. Romero's wound us up, but second half we've rallied. We've done well. Paul Polycarpou says, "I suppose we will see how good we are now." I agree with that, mate. I agree with that. It's going to be tough, though. It's going to be tough. Van de Ven and Romero have allowed us to play massively in the way that we would. We have done so far. If I can get my words out properly, I'm just getting up now the team sheets. Tottenham versus Chelsea 4-1. Right. Let's do the players. Let's do the players. So, Guillermo Vicario, I mean, as ever, what a player. The guy's conceded 4 goals and he's still potentially my man of the match for Spurs. Like, what an absolutely elite goalkeeper. What an elite goalkeeper. My mate Tommy used to work for Spurs. Actually, I used to work with him previously. But when we signed, he's an Italian lad. When we signed Vicario this summer, he was like, "Mate, not just saying it because he's Italian. We've signed like such an elite keeper. He is so good. Like, he's so good." And I was kind of like, "Yeah, all right, Tommy. I know you say it's not an Italian thing, and but come on, right? Is this 17 million pound goalkeeper, and we've missed out on David Raya, and don't know, right? But I mean, proven so completely wrong, right? What a keeper. So many brilliant saves, very quick to rush off his line to be the last man in defence so many times, so often. I mean, outstanding performance. He did a proper great leg save as well. I can't remember if it was from Mudryk or from Sterling. Pulled off a brilliant leg save. No, it wasn't. It was Cucurella, wasn't it? It was that save against Cucurella, almost like Emi Martinez's in the World Cup final. Absolutely phenomenal. I mean, what a player! I'm so happy he's ours. I tweeted the way this game's going, you wouldn't be surprised if his arms fell off in the second half. And when he was down for an extended period of time, I was really worried after Mudryk left one in on him. I mean, the way the game had got. I'll tell you one thing I have left out. Reece James, very, very lucky to get away with that elbow. Very, very. Romero's red card was an orange card because it was rash, and that's why he's gotten the red card. But he was playing the ball. And it was an orange card for me. So I get why he got sent off. But Reece James has had, I'm pretty sure it was a doggy he went in on. He's had a good look at him. And he's clocked him right in the face. He's got him right in the face. To say that wasn't like intentional, I mean, again, we can't, we're not mind readers, are we? But I don't know. I think dodgy one, inconsistent. It's yeah. I mean, great. I don't know. Vicario just great. Nearly saved the penalty as well. As Jonathan Gray has pointed out to me, Very true. Forgotten that. It was so close to saving a penalty. Just a phenomenal goalkeeper, phenomenal performance from him. Even though he conceded 4 goals, he'll be absolutely steaming tonight. He'll be livid. You know he will be. But I think he can hold. I think he's one of the players that can really hold his head high after the game today. Destiny Doggy, a night to forget for him. Let's be honest, a night to forget. A wonderful, wonderful talent, a wonderful player. Doesn't take away from any of that. He's a very young player, right? He's played with such maturity that's been, it's been astonishing to see the level of maturity he's played at, right, so far this season for a player so young. We've spoken about that a lot. That 2-footed challenge on Sterling in the first half, he probably should have gone for that. I'm surprised he didn't. Some people will say, contest it. But again, like Romero's, an orange card, I guess. So they go either way. He got a yellow on that occasion. He was still rash for the second, knowing he was on a yellow card. Sterling's control was taking him away from goal. He didn't need to go to ground as he did. Hopefully he'll learn from that. But it really set the tone. The 2-footed challenge really set the tone. I think it's the first point when Chelsea knew they'd gotten to us, even though we were 1-0 up. We were in control of the game. We just, like I say, we allowed Pochettino to Pochettino us. He just did. And that's, we can go over this. Look, Destiny Doggy is a fantastic, wonderful player, a wonderful talent. We're so lucky to have him in our side, and he'll learn from it, right? He's a young player. Get that out of your system, lad. Fine. It happens. Right, we have to accept this. We have to accept this because the net good from him so far this season is huge. It so vastly outweighs today or any other minor negatives we've seen previously. Right, he's an astonishingly good player. Mickey van der Ven, it's just wounded, man. I'm so absolutely gutted, as I know I'm not in the minority here either. Like, it's gutting. It's gutting. I mean, fingers crossed he gets off lightly. But getting off lightly with a hammy in the way that it looked like that he could barely walk off the pitch, right? It's usually, It's usually 6 to 8 weeks at least for a mild kind of hamstring strain. If he's torn it, which, if we're going to be pessimistic about it, and just judging by his reaction, judging by the amount of agony he looked to be in, if he has torn it, that's months, isn't it? It's months out. Obviously we're talking the new year. So what remains to be seen is if it's Dyer that plays or if it's Ashley Phillips, because we've heard a lot that, Ashley Phillips is tearing up trees in the youth team. Lily White Rose, who watches a lot of the youth team, again, don't know if you follow them on Twitter or X, Lily White Rose, they were on the View from the Lane podcast the other day, and was saying, I can't remember if it's Dorrington. Is it Dorrington in the youth team? One of the youth teams who he reckons is actually maybe a bit better than Ashley Phillips. Yeah, it's Dorrington. Tony Starks has said, yeah, Dorrington in the youth team is supposedly, according to Lily White Rose anyway, was saying that he reckons he's maybe a bit better than Ashley Phillips, but because the Spurs have spent a lot of money on Ashley Phillips, maybe he'll get the nod first. We'll see. Mitch Clyforth as well says, yeah, those hamstring type injuries in the NFL, multi-month, heartbreaking for VDV. Yeah, I mean, it does feel that way, doesn't it? It does feel that way. It feels like it's a nasty one. Ultimately, let's just hope he can come back fit and firing as good as he has been. It's gutting for the lad in his first season in the Premier League to be tearing up trees the way he has been, to have that. It's gutting for Spurs, but it is gutting for the lad as well. He will be absolutely livid, and it's terrible. It's absolutely, like, it's just awful. It's awful to see. I mean, It's annoying. Christian Romero, look, I've spoken about him at length at the top. Just disappointing, lad. Disappointing. We know, I guess we and our opponents this evening knew that side was there to him. Like, he's got that in his game. And they managed to bring that out with him, of him, alarmingly easily. And he has been a good boy for most of this season, but he's let himself down. He's let himself down. He's let Tottenham Hotspur Football Club down today. He has done. He's a vice captain now, right? He's a vice captain. And yep, it's an orange card. Sometimes it's not even a penalty. But today he got a red card, gave away a penalty. And moments before that, lying on the ground, lashes out at a Chelsea player. On another day, he could have gotten a red card for that, right? We know that. It's a real disappointing performance from him today. So, what can we say? Don't know. Just Gem says, is Phillips quick? Does anyone else know? I don't know. No idea. Pedro Porro, I thought he was really good today. I thought Pedro Porro was great. Geeing up the crowd, didn't stop running, maybe did he get caught out for any of the goals? I'm not sure. But I think he put a shift in. I think he was, pretty impeccable. His pace is unbelievable. His fitness is unbelievable. He doesn't stop running. He's really, really, really kind of come into his own from a player that I was criticizing a lot. I wondered if he was at all at the required level for this. I looked at kind of a doggy over the other side of the pitch, saw how good he was. I was wondering if Porro was ever going to be able to step up to, fit into this system, but he has done with aplomb, as I've said previously. Great again today. We really needed him, but we still conceded 4 goals, haven't we? Yves Bissouma, anybody that listens to this, right? Anybody that's listening to this is will know how much I'm a big, big, big fan of Yves Bissouma, but I don't think it was a classic performance from him today. I don't think it was a classic Yves Bissouma performance. I don't think it was terrible. I don't think he was bad. I think he kept the ball moving quite well at times. I think he's good at breaking up opposition play. I think he nicked the ball off them quite well. But Enzo Fernandez and Conor Gallagher, they're very high energy. Very, very high energy, the pair of them. And I feel like him and Sarr got a little overwhelmed by them. Gallagher was like one of the architects of the shithousing as well. But that's no surprise. He's always been like that against Spurs. He's a Chelsea boy through and through. He did it when he was at loan at, I think, was he at loan at West Brom at first when I first noticed him, and I saw him like really shithousing us in a game, and I was like, who is this kid? And they were like, Chelsea loanee. Oh, right, that makes sense. And then he's had those years at Palace when he was like shithousing us, and now still at Chelsea. He just loves giving some against us. But him and Fernandez, they've been much maligned, especially Enzo Fernandez came with a big, big price tag. Enzo Fernandez, who, another World Cup winner, great for Argentina last winter. I don't think Premier League's seen the best of him so far, but very, very good, the pair of them today. I thought very high energy. It was a really tough evening for Bissouma and for Sarr, who I think struggled. I think they struggled with the intensity of them slightly today, because I don't think Bissouma was his usual kind of commanding self. But the whole team was quite rattled. The defense behind Bissouma for a lot of the game wasn't as settled as it normally is. I don't know. It's tough, isn't it? Sarr, I think was decent. I think he was very unlucky to get that yellow card. I have no idea, really. Yeah, he gave Colwell a little nudge, but he was trying to pick the ball up and Colwell was standing over him, budging him. So he just kind of, budged him back a little bit. And then Colwell completely lost his head. And for Sarr to get a yellow card out of the back of that, I didn't wasn't buying that one at all. I didn't get it. I didn't understand that one. It was a strange one for me. So quite unlucky. I think Sarr, he put in a few good passes. He put in a few, as has been noticed by a few of his, a few of the sort of anti-Sarr agenda types that he puts in his sort of hospital passes from time to time. I did notice a few of those this evening. There was that one disappointing one when we had a break, and he could have, and he's quite good at threading those balls through, but he had that one that he could have just threaded through to Sonny a bit more crisply. And I think he underhit it slightly. Sonny looked quite disappointed as well. But again, it's a 21-year-old lad, big game, high pressure game. I think he did all right for the most part, Sarr. Like I said, I just think him and Basuma did struggle together as a unit with the intensity of Gallagher and Fernandez, to be honest. But I like Sarr. I'm a big fan of Sarr, really big fan of him. Love the lad. Brennan Johnson, I mean, from what we saw of him, he was really good. He was really good. Gave us more than Richarlison has done down that side of the pitch. I think he is more of a natural fit with Maddison, with Sonny in particular. They seem to interchange really nicely. I like his pace. I like his directness. He feels like a player that can make stuff happen. And I don't feel that with Richarlison. I just don't. I feel with Richarlison, it's a case of kind of, clutching at straws. Oh, he pressed well today, or he ran a lot off the ball. And I understand that is important at times in games, but his heavy touch, his often kind of mishit passes, mishit shots, scuffed shots, I think it undermines a lot of his positives. Whereas with Brennan Johnson, he just seems to be a lot cleaner. He seems to be a lot crisper. What I really like about him and a lot of players in that type of position, I think is like crucial for players who are playing in this kind of winger inside forward role, is his ability to pick the ball up in his stride very cleanly and continue running with it, like a video game, like a FIFA player or something like that. Do you know what I mean? When you can just pass the ball to their feet and they just collect it like it's magnetized and they can run forward with it. That's one of those things I've noticed about Johnson. I really like his technique. I think he's a really clean footballer. I think his passing is always crisp. I think his touch is very nice. I think his vision's very nice. I think he knows when to kind of, hand the ball off to Sonny or to Maddison, when to run into space for them. I think he's a very exciting player. I really, really like the look of him. I really like the look of him. And it's a shame we didn't get to see more of him today. A real shame. Dejan Kulusevski, I thought it was a really good performance from him as well. I thought he was putting in a really good shift. I can understand the decision to bring him off. I guess we just needed to change to a more solid foundation. We had to kind of hit and hope for set pieces. We had to build that solid foundation, bring on the skip, bring on Bentancur, have Højbjerg back there. We had to just sacrifice our attacking play, really. Lob Sonny up there, hope we can get the odd ball through to him on a breakaway, or try and break through on set pieces. And it nearly worked for us. Nearly worked, Eric Dyer came so close to making that happen. Didn't quite happen though, did it? Didn't quite get there. Didn't quite get the breakthrough that we needed. And Kulusevski was obviously sacrificed for that game plan, but I think up until that point, he was great. He was holding the ball up well. He was being a real nuisance for Chelsea's defence as well. He was up there robbing the ball off of them a lot, tackling really well, pressing really well, making it so that Chelsea had to pass the ball around in a hurried fashion at the back. Great goal as well. Obviously, he scored. I mean, it was a deflection, but I'm not going to say it was lucky, because he still made the angle for himself. He still had a shot, which is lovely to see from him, because he's been so hesitant to do that so far, really, this season. And he got his just rewards for doing that. I think saying someone got their just rewards is a negative thing, isn't it? It's like, if someone acts like a dick, they'll get their just rewards sooner or later. So I don't really mean it in that way. I mean he got a good thing for trying a good thing. Um, good, good performance today. More of what you want to see from him, right? More attacking intent. He kept cutting inside, being really awkward for them. And there were a few nice moments where he just doesn't give up. That's the thing I like about Decky. He can get tackled, but then he'll still harry the man that's just tackled him. Try and keep the ball in play. He's so good at doing that on the touchline, fighting for the ball, keeping it in play, and just getting a ball into the box for somebody to get something on the end of. Um, he's a great player. I love the way, and I think he's very important for this side. Um, James Maddison again went off, didn't he? Went off. He he was doing well at first when we were in command of the game, and then everybody behind him lost their asses, and it all became a real bitty struggle after that point. And he was getting involved. He was dropping back. He was getting stuck in. He was putting a shift in, that's for sure. Trying his best to kind of drop deep, make something happen, break up Chelsea's play, and carry the ball forwards himself. But it was an attritional, nasty game. After that, before we even got our red cards, really, very scrappy. It was ugly, and I think Madison is, I can't say he doesn't shine in those circumstances, because he does, and he has done so far this season on several occasions for us. Um, but it would have been interesting to see how he would have done for the rest of the game had he not been subbed off. And I dare say, had we gone down to the 9 men, it would have been a real dilemma whether or not to bring him off. As I think Kulusevski. I don't know. I don't know. We don't need to. We don't need to deal with that sort of speculation, do we? Because who knows? Who cares? He came off because he got injured, and that's a shame. And hopefully, he won't be out for long. Yeah. Heung-min Son, a decent enough game, I thought, from Sonny. Ran a lot. Tried his best to do what he could with the few times we did manage to carve an opportunity for him. Kept running the channels, kept being a nuisance for Chelsea's defence. He's always a threat there. And I think when you've got a player like Sonny on the pitch like that, there is always that threat there for the opposition. Nearly managed to get one, didn't he, right towards the end to make it 2-2. Just didn't quite get enough power on the shot. I guess that's partly from fatigue. He has scored that, as Tony Starks has pointed out to me here, but he did score that goal. It was very narrowly offside. It was a good performance from Sonny. Like, it was a good performance. The only thing I would say is, like I say, as a captain, as a former Pochettino general, I would have liked to have seen him be able to, number one, grab Romero and be like, snap out of it. Like, snap out of this. What are you doing? And also, before the game, maybe he did. Maybe he did do this, and maybe still the young players, it's hard to know. It's when somebody's telling you to do something, sometimes you just have to have the lived experience to really understand it. But like I say, Pochettino team doing what Pochettino teams do, and we fell for it. We fell for it completely. It's funny, isn't it? They said on Sky Sports that partway into the second half that we ended the game with only, is it 4 or 5 of the players that we started the game with on the pitch? So it's a few subs to go through on this one. Oliver Skip, I thought was really good. I thought Skippy was exactly the type of player we needed for that second half when we had 9 men on the pitch. A lot of battling him, a lot of fight, runs a lot. I think he is a fit player. Was dogged, tried his best to break up Chelsea's play, and I think he did do a good job quite a lot of the time. There were a couple of good opportunities. I want to say he nicked one off of Jackson when they were only 2-1 up at that point. He nicked the ball off of Jackson, I think, in the box. And I just think he was generally good, sort of, buzzing around, So a good performance from Oliver Skip. And again, like I always say, like a player that I want to see sort of stay about. I know people get very triggered by him. People get very annoyed by Skip's mere existence. But I think every squad needs players like him. He's homegrown for a start. That's a precious commodity in today's game. But as Ange has alluded to, it feels like he is one of those players that is happy to sit on the bench, doesn't kick up a fuss, and then when required to, when called upon, will come out onto the pitch and do his best, give it his all for the team. So, Skippy, you're all right by me, lad. Pierre Mahoybier, I thought I'll be honest, I thought he was absolutely magnificent when he came on today. And I've been a very harsh critic of his in the past, pretty often. But I think he was very, very, very good today when he came on. That clearance off the line that he celebrated like a goal, good on him, like well done. He tried his best to break up a lot of Chelsea's moves, and he was pretty successful in doing that several times throughout the game. I just think it was overall, he was obviously just tasked with get in there, break up play, don't let them score, do whatever you can. And I think he tried his best. I think he tried his hardest. And Ian 3415 says being homegrown is not a reason to keep mediocrity on the bench. I mean, I don't think Skip is mediocre for a start. I think Skip is a very good player. I don't think he's mediocre really at all. I think he would go to most other Premier League clubs and look like a really good player. And homegrown players, it is a thing, Ian, mate. Like, you need a certain amount of homegrown players in your team. You do, and we don't have many at all. So, I mean, it literally is a reason. Like, this is something that the Premier League, or I don't even know if it's a Europe-wide thing or if it's a Premier League initiative, but it is an important element to this conversation. Like, we can't just deny that. But Pierre Mahoybier, great performance today. Good player. Emerson Royale came on, played like centre back for most of the game in the second half. Look, it's tough to, isn't it? It's tough to praise. We'll talk about Royale and Dyer together, I guess, because it's tough, isn't it, to praise two makeshift defenders when we've conceded 3 goals in the second half. We've lost 4-1 and say they had a good game, but I feel like they did. Neither of those lads is suited to playing a high line. Ange persisted with that high line. And we felt it right. Porro tried his best to cover for, I guess, the pair of them, really. And there's only so much he could do. It's difficult. It's difficult. I think both of them did a good job, but, like I say, we lost 4-1. We know neither Emerson Royale or Eric Dyer are of the required standard for us. I do want to see us spend some more money in January on another centre back. Who that is, I don't know, but I'm not a scout, right? We've got this big new scouting network in place at the club. Hopefully they can identify, a gem or two for us. That would be very good. Eric Dyer, it would have been lovely to see him have a bit of redemption today. That 2-2, it would have just been lovely, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? I mean, again, state the obvious, Jack, but I feel for the lad, right? Feel for a lad. Rodrigo Bentancur, good. Like, moves the ball about nicely. You see how kind of graceful he is at carrying the ball, of retaining the ball. He does seem to have a sort of casual sort of press resistance about him. I like the way he kind of sweeps the ball to pass it, the way he just sort of, his foot just kind of pushes through the ball. Great player. Great to have him back. We're going to need him in the coming months, aren't we? But, It's just annoying. It's an annoying day today, but I don't feel as livid as I thought I would. If you said to me at the start, if somebody said to you, like, if you had the almanac, the sporting almanac from Back to the Future, and you saw the result today, 4-1 to Chelsea, you would think, God, I'm going to be absolutely livid this evening. Absolutely livid. And I feel like we're not that angry, right? We're worried. We're upset about Van de Ven. A bit of a cause of concern. Romero out for 3 games, lost his head in the way that he did. That is concerning. That is frustrating. But the spirit of the team today, you can't fault them for that. You can't. They did their best. Mauricio Pochettino has been the victor this evening in playing peak Poch ball. He's done it. Like, Tottenham Hotspur have been Pochettino'd. We completely bought it. We were our own worst enemies today. It's frustrating, but the positives are we're still ahead of Arsenal. We're still ahead of Chelsea. I think we're still second in the table. I think so. Yeah, I guess so. I don't think. Let me just double check that now. I think we are. Yeah, we're still second. We're still second in the table. So 2 points ahead of Liverpool, 2 points ahead of Arsenal. Our first loss of the season, right? It's taken 11 games for us to lose a game. It's pretty impressive. It's against Chelsea, horrible bogey team for us. There's plenty to look forward to this season, right? I don't know. We got to take it as it comes, right? We got to take each game as it comes. We've got to see that spirit in that second half, and we have to think that's what Ange Postecoglou is doing here. That's the main thing. We've got some exceptional players here, but we had some exceptional players under Antonio Conte. We only saw a very brief spell of them doing well. We saw with 9 men this evening, Tottenham play not out. I'm not going to say we outplayed Chelsea with 9 men. We didn't. That's not true. But put up a very good fight against Chelsea with 9 men for half an hour plus, right? That is what Ange Postecoglou has instilled into this team. So if we're missing Romero, we're missing Van de Ven, awful, gutting, heartbreaking. But the spirit of the team is still there. The core of it is still there. And we have to hope, we have to have place faith in Ange Postecoglou, who's gotten us to this point already, 11 games in, our first loss. We have to place faith in him to carry us through this rough spell. There was going to be a rough spell. If we were going to win the league, like we're talking, could we, can we? And we say it was a joke. No, it wasn't. Let's be honest. There's that little bit of many of us that thinks that it could have been a possibility. I don't know how many will be thinking it after today with the sort of injuries we've got and all that type of stuff. That remains to be seen. But seasons are long. Things happen. Players get injured. Like, this was always going to happen. But the spirit, the fight, the belief, the unity that Ange Postecoglou has drilled into this team, has instilled into them so early on, is still there. We saw it today when we only had 9 men. We just got to hope that carries through. We've got to hope that carries through into our next game. Wolves looks a bit ropey lately, right? Look, let's just have a bit of faith in the lads. Let's see what we can do. It's not over yet. Come on, you Spurs. All right. Yes, it's Chelsea, but whatever. It's gone. It's done. Gone. Look, over there. Behind there with my potted plant, right? Done. Behind us. Gone. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you very much for listening. If you're listening to the podcast, maybe tomorrow morning, walking your dog. Maybe you're going to listen to it this evening. Well, it might not be this evening if you're in America or elsewhere. Might be listening to it during the day. I get a lot of people say they listen to it while they're walking the dog. So, if you're walking your dog, do it. Maybe you're walking your cat. I don't know. Some people walk their cats, don't they, on leads? I don't walk my cats because they wouldn't like it. Blah, blah, blah. But if you do like the pods, please do share them. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe, as people say. leave any comments. With the pod, like I say, please rate, please review on your chosen podcast platforms. I tweet them out. If you could just retweet it for me, that would be grand. That would be very much appreciated. Also, on YouTube, on Twitter, on my Instagram, on TikTok, the latest Spurs wipe, monthly wipe, written with Billy T. Very quiet month, but we managed to get something out on this one. It is now live. Just a minute every single month, encapsulating the month into 1 minute. Give it a watch and please give it a share, because bugger all people have shared this one, right? And it's rattled me, right? So please retweet it, share it, say, look how good this is, even if you don't think it's good. If you just like listening to this and you think, don't waste time doing those Spurs wipe things, right? Just validate my ego some more, all right? But yeah, please do enjoy. Have a look. It's my pinned tweet on X. It will be in my YouTube shorts. And like I say, it's on Instagram. It's on TikTok as well. So you can watch that there. You can, if you do like the pods, you can sign up to Patreon, patreon.com/RTR pod. I've got like this, but I record them before. So I do a preview pod. I've got a Thursday bulletin pod where myself and Phil do the week's talking points in 20 minutes. And I've got the Robbie Keane Ultras recorded with Jack Gallagher that I'll be doing in the next few days with him as well, which is a monthly thing. He's not a Spurs fan. He's a football writer. He gives a kind of a bit of a yardstick on how Spurs do. But anyway, patreon.com/RTR pod. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. It's not over. It's only our first loss of the season. We'll beat them at Stamford Bridge. Bollocks to Chelsea, bollocks to all of it. Come on, you Spurs. Keep the faith. Keep the faith, everybody. Much love.